My name is Janelle Coleman, and I am from Cucamonga Christian Fellowship, where I serve as the executive pastor there. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a Christian home, and so Christian values and who God is was a part of my life from a very young age. But I would say that I was probably about 6 when I came to know that and experience that for myself from one of those kids' cassette stories of the Easter story through the lens of a donkey and sheep and all of the animals. And then really it was in my teenage years that it became more and more real to me, and I started to make the decision of like, no, Jesus is my Lord and my Savior and who I want to follow for my own life, not just because my family do or because that's what's expected of me or because so much of my life is spent in church, but because of who He is to me. I'm from Australia originally, which is kind of obvious from my accent. So God guiding me to my current ministry is like a 20-year process. I went to Bible college in Australia and met my husband there, and we had our first son there. And then God really put on our heart to come back and be part of CCF, Cucamonga Christian Fellowship, where my husband had grown up. So we came back, we volunteered with the young adult ministry there for a couple of years, and then I jumped on staff just in an admin role and have been on staff now for 12 years, kind of doing different things along the way, and until I found myself in the position I'm in today, which really marries a lot of my passion for administration and the fact that God is a God of order and not of disorder and chaos with my love for people and wanting to see the church be a place that people experience as not only safe and welcoming and a place of freedom and hope, but also a place of excellence and intentionality to provide the very best experience of who God is for them in that place. In my journey, for the first few years when I was just in an administrative position, I really thought that kind of disqualified me from ministry. You know, we used to have the learning communities that they would do as the Free Methodist Conference, and I remember answering the phone while all the pastors were gone and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, they're at learning community this week," and without fail the response would always be, "Oh, so you don't need to learn anything?" And I remember thinking, oh gosh, but I want to learn something. Like, is this kind of what my path is and my future is, as long as I continue to lean into my administrative giftings? Am I disqualifying myself from pursuing ministry? So I really wrestled with that for a lot of years. And even the LMC, CMC, elder process, I wrestled with, do I even jump in that path? Because there doesn't tend to be a lot of the high executive admin people in front showing you that is even a lane that you can walk in. So at some point, I think I just gave up on it and was like, I need to just be who God has called me to be. And if that means that I'm really good at dates and numbers and planning and telling people that those rooms are going to be a problem if you have somebody chanting in one and having a funeral in another, then that's my gift. And I need to just stay in that lane and own that God has a piece for me. And I think just with the people around me, the leaders around me, and the way that they were able to mentor me and say, that's really good that you're strong in these areas. Now let's build the areas that maybe you're not as strong in and show you how they marry together. That was so freeing for me. There's a course that I'm doing right now with the denomination called Church Administration, and there's a book that we have to read the syllabus, and the whole thing is just like, this is what I knew existed, and this is what I knew God was calling when He gave us high administrative gifts, but I've never seen it on paper before, or I've never seen it like legitimized as an option or a career path. So I think it was just the goodness of God to bring all these things together at the right timing so that when I did step into executive pastor, which was in the middle of COVID, I didn't feel like this is a terrible idea. It was like, okay, God, I'm trusting that all these things that you've been honing and validating and preparing me for are going to be put to use in the way that you want them to, not in the way that I wanted them to back when I was answering the phone thinking, I'm being left out right now. there's been such a push to marry the marketplace and ministry thing too, which has been so freeing to so many people. Because when I first met my husband, he was going to be a youth pastor, and then we moved back here and it was like, just kidding, I don't want anything to do with ministry. And I felt like, you baited and switched me there, and now I'm the one in ministry and you're off in the marketplace. But what he does day to day, like there are some days where it's like, you made more of an impact than I did in the four walls of the church. And that's legitimate. And not only is that legitimate, like you are doing exactly what God called you to do. And there's no, like, you can't undermine that or discount that because you're not a paid pastor. And I think that's been so freeing and life-giving to the denomination in ways that maybe other denominations aren't experiencing. Because there's still that pedestal of the pastor, you know what I mean, who has it all together and would never need a counseling center. In Australia, we don't actually have anywhere near the number of denominations that America has. So when I first moved here, I was kind of surprised to find that there was this range of things that people believed and held tightly to and defined the denominations. Thankfully, Free Methodism was very similar to what I grew up with, and I thought everybody believed. but I quickly came to find out that wasn't the truth. But I love so much about who we are as Free Methodists. I love, obviously, the emphasis on freedom. I love that people aren't disqualified from being who God has called them to be because of their gender or their age or their background. I love the Free Methodist way that they've rolled out recently, and just the way that that's honed in on some of the values that are really core to us across the country, not just region by region or conference by conference. And I think that that's been really unifying. So I'm glad to be part of this denomination.